A new movie called One Battle After Another just dropped. It's by Paul Thomas Anderson. He's got quite a celebrated body of work, with many considering several of his films to be masterpieces. So I figured now would be a good time to watch all of these movies in the lead up to One Battle After Another, to see how they compare and to find out what all the fuss is about. PTA's films are known for how carefully crafted they are and for placing a lot of trust in the audience, and because of that, opinions on his work tend to shift with rewatches. With that in mind, I should mention that I've only seen each of these films just the one time. In a way, though, it's actually kind of a good thing. It puts his newest film on a level playing field with the rest. With all that being said, this ranking wasn't easy, and the order will almost certainly change over time. They all each have their own unique thing going on, but here's how I feel about them right now. This is PTA's first film, and you can tell there's something missing in Hard 8. It feels more like a rough outline than a fully fleshed out script. It's a pretty basic film, probably wouldn't even get much out of it on a rewatch. PTA himself admitted that he was kind of winging it as he went along, which might explain why things just happen for the sake of happening. It's not bad, it's just not particularly memorable either. There's nothing especially clever or unique about it, and for a movie about gambling, Hard 8 plays it very safe. Inherent Vice is inherently a bad film. I really tried to see the genius in it. It seemed fun at first, and then the plot kicked in. I tell you what's about, but honestly, I had no idea what the hell was going on. Maybe I was meant to experience the film vicariously through Dot, a guy who's high all the time and just goes with the flow. But if I'm at a point where I need to take drugs to enjoy a movie, probably not a great sign about how good it is. Joaquin Phoenix didn't really work for me in this role, and overall the whole thing just felt messy. That said, I ranked it above Hard 8 because at least it feels like its own film. There's definitely some good stuff buried in there, and I'm willing to give it another go someday, but for now I just can't justify putting it any higher. If I had to write a synopsis for Licorice Pizza, it would be a 25-year-old and a 15-year-old kind of love each other, and then they do things, and then they do some more stuff. It was around the 40-minute mark when I realised this was one of those plotless films, which can be totally fine if there's a strong enough underlying message or something that sticks. But as a coming-of-age story, I couldn't really tell what sets it apart from the dozens of others like it. It just didn't have that thing that leaves an impression on me. And look, if the characters were at least likeable, maybe I could have gone along with the ride. That said, it's undeniably a well-made film. I mean, PTA's films all are. It captures the 70s vibe beautifully, and the cinematography is stunning. The dialogue is snappy enough to keep things moving along, and unlike Inherent Vice, it's actually coherent. So while it didn't work for me on a story or character level, I can at least respect the craft behind it. Alright, now we're into the I actually like the film territory. The Master was the first PTA film I ever saw, and there was something so captivating about it. Perhaps it was the fact it was shot on film, so it was just great to look at. Maybe the characters and the ideas presented through them, Hoffman and Phoenix. All these things result in me actually liking this film, even though I'm not usually into the character study type of film. So yes, while it is a character study and not primarily plot driven, it has what Licorice Pizza lacks: interesting characters, thought-provoking themes, and an insight into cult dynamics. It presents ideas of freedom and human instincts, and the idea of what actually is a master. We see these themes through Freddy and Dodd, two sides of the same coin, which sets up for an incredible dynamic throughout the film. It helps when you have two actors of this level performing at the top of their game, because this relationship is seriously well executed and what makes the master as good as it is. The final confrontation between them being a perfect close to their arcs in the film. The great characters, the themes, the visuals, it's all there. It's just missing that extra something that would have bumped it even higher on this list. I wouldn't say that I mind long movies, but I just don't think Magnolia justifies its 3-hour runtime. Definitely could have been trimmed down a bit, and I think even PTA would probably admit that. With so many characters and intersecting storylines, it does start to feel a little messy. That said, it's still a good movie, and the fact that PTA manages to make something this ambitious work at all is incredibly impressive. It's hard not to respect the scale of it. The large ensemble allows the film to dig into themes like trauma and death. There's a lot going on, but that also means there's a lot to love. Tom Cruise is just great, and probably a standout. Hoffman is amazing as always, and I like John C. Reilly. And just when I thought the film was starting to drag, it drops one of the most iconic endings in film. I mean, fuck. This placement might come down to a personal preference. Probably wouldn't have watched this film if I didn't have a reason to, but I'm glad I did, because I can't find any real faults with it. On a technical level, it's flawless. Visually, it's beautiful, as expected, with the cinematography perfectly matching the tone of the film. The dialogue is sharp and might actually have the best cinematic use of the word fucking, but beyond the surface is a deeply nuanced portrayal of love and power. What stands out most is how realistically it captures the evolution of a relationship. We watch the dynamic between Daniel Day-Lewis and Vicky Krieps shift over time, how they rely on one another yet gradually undermine each other's control. The tension between the two leads is carried entirely through performance, dialogue and silence. You feel the attraction, the power struggle, the vulnerability. So yeah, as I said, it's a near perfect film. It's just not my kind of story that I'd usually gravitate towards. Considering I've watched all these films just the one time, it probably explains why I have Boogie Nights so high up on the list. Well, I can tell the others probably require a rewatch to understand its deeper meaning. Boogie Nights gives it to you straight. It's a film that right off the bat has the most substance. It's rich with these colourful shots and these fresh characters, all the while moving at such a fast pace. I'm just simply never bored with Boogie Nights, and it's probably the easiest film here to recommend. It's unique in a way. I've never actually seen a film about the porn industry. Yeah, it has what you'd expect. It's got the sex. It also does well showing the darker side of this particular industry. It's all fun and games at the start, but the longer you stay, the more you sink into the abyss of regret and shame. What's even more interesting is that beneath all the chaos, Boogie Nights is really a story about family. A dysfunctional, chaotic, very unconventional family, but a family nonetheless. There's something weirdly sweet about it. These broken people finding comfort in one another, even in such a messed up environment, adds an emotional core that grounds the whole film. Phantom Thread is probably a better film on the technical side of filmmaking, but Boogie Nights is just a better film in my eyes. It's funny and sad and has some real standout scenes in cinema. PTA has a way of telling stories where there's not always a clear central plot. And maybe I'm just a bit of a dum-dum, but personally I prefer when a film does have a structure that I can latch onto. Something with a beginning, middle and end helps me better connect with what I'm actually watching. And Punch Drunk Love gives me exactly that. It's got a simple but effective narrative. You know, a depressed, lonely guy calls a sex hotline, which is the catalyst for the events that take place in the film. And from there we move into the third act that delivers a very cathartic conclusion. And the reason the ending hits so hard is because the film really gets you to root for its main character, played by Adam Sandler. There's something so incredibly likable about Barry. He's awkward, quiet, and clearly struggling, but there's a real sincerity to him, and I feel like he's a relatable character. I love that Sandler is essentially playing his kind of character, but just in a PTA film. It creates this fascinating contrast in styles that feels totally unique. Punch Drunk Love is a love story, but more than that, it's a story about how love can make someone stronger. It's pretty straightforward, but told in such a tight, purposeful way that every element from the framing to the dialogue to the colour feels intentional. And speaking of colour, that's something that immediately stood out to me. The use of colour in this film is clearly symbolic and deliberate. It adds to the mood, to Barry's inner world, and the way we experience the story. Oh, and then Hoffman. I mean, was this guy like the best ever or something? His conflict with Sandler is brief, but it results in one of the best on-screen confrontations I've ever seen. Punch Drunk Love just itches that part of the brain that I couldn't reach otherwise. You might think this placement is just a recency bias, but to be fair, I did watch most of these films this week. The real advantage one battle after another has is that I saw it in the cinema. And yeah, it's obvious, but watching anything on the big screen just clears watching it on the TV. Maybe this ranking will shift over time, but right now, I'm more than happy to put one battle after another right here. It just has everything that PTA has done well in all these other films, and has something else. It's got a richly woven narrative of multiple characters and storylines that work together, stunning cinematography that captures both beauty and chaos, and a real sense of style and purpose in every shot. The visuals reflect the film's erratic, stress-inducing tone perfectly. The car chase scene at the end in particular, I mean, damn. And the characters are still unique and strong in their own PTA sort of way. Sean Penn is phenomenal as the villain, a role that is not just well acted but genuinely well written. DiCaprio plays Bob Ferguson, a character again who is incredibly easy to root for, and the world building is detailed and distinct, and the way the story unfolds makes the world feel lived in and real. It's also surprisingly funny, and on top of all that, it has a clear, engaging plot. The combination of visual, sound, performance and storytelling makes for a deeply immersive, anxiety-driven experience. You feel what Bob is feeling, you feel like you're on the run. And sure, there are a few things that I could nitpick in the plot, but honestly, I don't care. I had such a good time with it that I'm happy to let this thing slide. In my opinion, one battle after another blends everything PTA is known for and delivers his most exciting and satisfying film yet. I told a little lie at the start of this video. I said that I've only seen all of these just the one time, but I've actually seen this twice. Originally I had There Will Be Blood lower, but it seemed to stick in my mind, and the more I thought about it, the more I started to like it. So then I decided to go back and watch it one more time. With a title like There Will Be Blood, I think it does incite some sort of expectation, but once you stop waiting for this big thing and just take in the film for what it is, you know, an epic character study, you can see the brilliance behind it and what makes it so special. I won't say too much as there's only so many times I can compliment the acting in these films, but Daniel Day-Lewis is sensational and completely embodies Daniel Plainview, that you forget someone is actually acting in there. And what character, by the way. He is a bastard and does all these bastard things, but at his core he's just a regular man who's just got a lot of ambition, which is the foundation of what makes him such a fascinating character. There are scenes in this film that are simply timeless. Even if you've never watched There Will Be Blood, you would have seen this scene in some sort of form. PTA also just captures the scale and epicness of the desert with the use of this amazing amazing original soundtrack that goes with the imagery to create these haunting and lasting impressions on your brain. There Will Be Blood is an example of high caliber filmmaking. The feel of it is just enchanting. And looking at this film from the perspective that it's a story about a father and a son highlights how beautiful and tragic a story it is. There are so many video essays about this character, which is a testament to how unbelievably well written a character he is. There Will Be Blood is a movie that just inspires me to make stuff. It's a perfect and unforgettable film. Anyway, feel free to let me know your ranking in the comments down below. You can tell me how wrong you think I am. That's absolutely fine. But in the meantime, here's another video for you to watch. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, man.